Hello and welcome. This is Dominic Beechenow from Unleash You, and in this video we're going to be talking about the power of your environment. Now, as always, learning is state dependent, so please don't just watch this passively, you'll forget it all. So please engage by writing it down, getting a notebook, thinking about the questions I ask, and writing down your answers, and really thinking how best to implement this in your life. Don't just sort of passively look at it. Okay, so the power of your environment is part of the five things that I like to talk about, the five core components of personal performance. There's other videos. One is on vision and purpose, habits and actions, your environment, which is what we're covering today. Of course, you have to have the right knowledge and skills. And of course, understanding how your brain works, because that's a predominant way in which you're experiencing the world, is important too. But today, environment. So, your environment shapes you. And there's different types of environment when we say environment. There's effectively your external environment and your internal environment. But we can also break those down into physical. So, your home, the workplace that you work in, your bed, nature, if you're outside, there's your physical environment of the things around you. There's your social environment in terms of your friends, your family, the people who are important to you in your life. There's your culture, which actually has a far bigger impact than we ever are aware of until we go to a completely different country and the culture is very different out there. Digital environment. It's such a big one now. We've got so much technology in our world that actually we need to kind of separate it and be aware of the digital environment that we're uh, putting ourselves in as well. And lastly, but certainly almost most importantly, is your biological or your internal environment. So things like nutrition, fresh air, hygiene, hydration, body function, all of those things are your biological environment. And each of these factors influences your mindset, your psychology. And that's why it's so important to become aware of it, because actually you can change your environment, and that's when things change for you too. And of course, your brain functions better, and you get stronger and more, able to handle difficulties. And there will always be difficulties in life. But let's start with your physical environment. So this is, the room that you're in right now, or the train that you're on watching this, if you are. And, the amount of light that you get, if it's nice and organized, if it's clean, if it's ordered, all of those things boost your productivity. Whereas if it's loads of rubbish and clutter everywhere, actually that loses your focus and you feel stressed, even if you're not even aware of it. But, a messy environment will cause stress and therefore reduce your productivity. So, very simple one here. What's one change that you could do today that would actually improve your physical environment? I love to periodically tidy up my office. I love to periodically, um, obviously change the sheets in the bed just to feel fresh, and it feels so much nicer when it's nice and clean and fresh feeling. So little things like that done on a regular basis will enhance your well-being and your happiness and your productivity. Next one, social environment. Now, the people you surround yourself with will both, in terms of work and friends at home, personal life, things like that, they are, whether you like it or not, they are shaping your attitudes and beliefs. And if you've got positive, supportive relationships, then that's going to motivate you. You are, the average of your five closest friends, as one of those personal development gurus used to say. So pay attention to who is around you, because we have something in our brain called mirror neurons. And mirror neurons mean we act like other people. So if people around you are brilliant at what they do, they're excellent, they're world class at what they do, then you're naturally going to rise. If you are surrounded by people who are worse than you, maybe they drink loads of alcohol, maybe actually some of your friends have got divorced, then you're far more likely to get divorced. You're far more likely to also drink alcohol. So it's really important to be aware of the people you surround yourself with and ask yourself the question, is there anyone that maybe I should spend a little bit less time with? And maybe there's some other people that you maybe want to spend some more time with. I'm not saying being mean or anything, but just be conscious that you're creating your life by who you surround yourself with. So that's really important to get right. Next one, your cultural environment. This is sort of a little bit of a sensitive subject for some people because, they're particularly religious and they believe that religion is the best. But of course, there's, 3,000 religions out there. and they each have their merits. And just because, one believes one thing and another one believes another, it doesn't mean that either of them are wrong or right. It's just they're different. And so actually, the more we can honor diverse cultures, different cultures, the more different perspectives we can unlock. And your life is all about your perspectives, your perception of what is. And so if you can be adaptable, that's a really good skill. It's Einstein who said intelligence is our ability to change, our ability to adapt to the changing environment. So if you want to increase your intelligence, it's put yourself in different environments, cultural environments, different religions, different communities, and learn from each of them. That's the way to grow on this one. So thinking about your cultural environment, whether you're watching this in the UK or America or another country, actually, how does that impact you? What is it you're getting from it? What is it that's limiting? How is it limiting you as well? Next, digital environment. Such a big topic now. Obviously, we have phones, we have computers, we have TV. All of these things are constantly in our face, just demanding our attention. And if we're not careful, they will cause you to become more distracted. And if we want to succeed in life, we need to learn to focus. If you look at the most successful people in the world, they're all masters of focus. So managing our digital environment is so important to get right to improve your productivity, well-being, and happiness. So what could you change today in your digital life to improve your focus? What's one thing you'd like to do? I know for a lot of people, it would be not looking at social media quite so much, or as we should call it now, algorithmic media, because it's not really your friends. It's all stuff that you're interested in that keeps popping up because it wants you to pay more attention to the stuff that, and spend longer on your social media channels. I've done a thing that I'll share with you. I leave my phone in the hallway in my house when I'm not working, and then that way I know that when I'm with my loved ones, I'm more present because I'm not being distracted. I'm not. I don't have a chance to be distracted by my phone, which is constantly previously in my pocket, and it might be buzzing away and giving you notifications. What if you turned off your notifications? That would be a great start, but actually leaving the technology somewhere else would also be another great one. Next, your biological environment. Now, we think of us as an individual, as as one thing, but we're not. We're actually made up of 50 trillion cells thereabouts. And then in your gut, you have around 100 trillion bacteria. There's more bacteria in your body than there are human cells. Isn't that nuts? Now, they're not bigger than your human cells, they're considerably smaller, but there's more of them. And so you really are an ecosystem. And if you nurture and give the right nutrition and food and hydration to your gut bacteria, it's going to reward you. I say it, they are going to reward you with more energy. And if you've got more energy, you're happier. If you're happier, you're going to be more productive. If you're more productive, you're going to do well and earn more money and have a bigger influence on people around you. So what you put into your body is so important. If you were to spread out your gut lining, it would cover the space of a tennis court. That's how much, it engages with the outside world. Your skin is not nearly that big. We think we engage with the outside world through our skin, but of course it's not. It's all internal as well. So become very conscious of what you put into your body. I gave up sugar for a month and I had better clarity. I slept better. I was less anxious. I wasn't having the highs and lows in the afternoon that a lot of people get because they're tired, because they were eating So not only did I give up sugar, I also gave up wheat in that month too. And again, I lost loads of weight. I had more energy. All of these benefits from changing what I put into my body. But it's sometimes difficult because, of course, your gut bacteria are addicted to the things that you eat on a regular basis. So stopping eating sugar is quite difficult initially, but once you get past that hurdle and the brain fog and the headaches and things like that, that's when you get the breakthrough, and that's definitely worth trying. So experiment with yourself. See what you can do that would help you to become more productive by changing your biological environment. And let me know as well what you think you could change and what has worked for you in the past. And by the way, do it for a while. Don't just give up sugar for a day. That doesn't make any difference. You need to do it for a good 30 days or 40 days, ideally. Um, you know, Jesus, fasting for 40 days. Intermittent fasting is amazing for mental clarity and productivity and better. insulin function in your body that means that you feel more energized. So all of this together, basically, what I'm trying to say, and I love this quote by Marshall Goldsmith, he says, if we do not create and control our environment, then our environment creates and controls us. So if you're not deliberate about it, it's going to happen to you anyway. So we may as well be deliberate about it. And also psychological environment. Sorry, I think I forget if it all impacts your psychological environment. Sorry, all of these. So here are a few things that you can do, some practical takeaways now that you can do to purposely create a future psychological state by changing your environmental factors in this moment, in this present moment, today, perhaps. Exercise is, as we know, the most important, or not the most important, but one of the most important factors. It's the best antidepressant on the planet is exercise. Sleep, another one, especially after the age of 40. Sleep like it was your job, because when you get enough sleep, your whole body balances out way, way better. Hormone regulation, all sorts of things, stress reduces, everything improves when you get enough sleep. Nutrition, as we've talked about, has been a massive one, but then also nurturing your thoughts. So, we talked about consumption of the digital world. So if you just stop listening to the news, which I certainly have in the last few years, I don't worry so much about what's going on. So I'm not feeding my mind with negative ideas around what could or may go wrong in the world. The news tells you all the bad stuff because it wants your attention, and the brain naturally goes to the negative. That's the way it's programmed. And so actually not feeding it negative stuff means that actually I'm less anxious, and therefore I can focus better and be more positive, and positive people tend to get better outcomes, as science has proved. Another thing I'd like to share with you is that, a lot of people think, oh, I'll just give up sugar. But you know what? If you have sugar in the house, whether it's ice cream, chocolate, processed foods, things like that, if it's in the house, you will eat it. So we have to change our environment so that it isn't in the house. Take the alcohol out the house, and then that way you can't consume it because it's not there. If you try and rely on self-discipline, but the cookies are there, it you will break at some point because we have this thing called willpower, and it's peaked at the beginning of the day, but by the end of the day, you've used up most of your ability to make those decisions, because you have around, the capacity to make around 30,000 decisions a day. But if you've used up most of that capacity because you've worked hard that day, then you're going to have a weaker willpower by the end of the day, and you won't be able to handle it, and you'll give in to that pressure of the alcohol or the cookies or the crisps or whatever it is that you don't want to eat so much of. So yeah, decision fatigue is something that happens to us all. We are human. It's like a battery pack. At the beginning of the day you're good, but at the end of the day you're tired and you need to rest. And therefore, if you want to change something, you have to intentionally do things that support your desired behaviors. Now, I found this pyramid and I found it quite useful, so I thought I'd share it here. You can learn stuff, education, training, rules and policies. That's great, but they're human orientated, and if you went to school, you spent at least 15,000 hours in education, and how have you come out? You tell me. It's one of those things that you don't remember much from school, and yet the things that you do on a regular basis, the forcing functions at the top of the pyramid, those are the constraints that have helped you change the most. So here are some examples of things that you can do, forcing functions you can do, that are going to help you make the best and change. Setting deadlines on something. So announcing a project launch, a book launch, entering a race, saying something, and committing to a particular date, that is going to help you to get ready for that date deliberately. If you put a massive financial investment into something, some people spend $250,000 a year on a personal coach. And boy, are they committed to that coach, and will they show up and make sure that they listen to everything and implement everything that they discuss during those conversations, because that financial commitment is such a massive one to get a good value return on. Social pressure. It's great to be around other people who are doing the same thing. So if you do a workout and you do it with other people, that's great because you're going to push yourself so much better and faster because you're surrounded by other people who are doing that as well. Here are some transformational environments that can help you as well. races or competitions. I did a 10K the other day, and there was, 200 people doing that 10K, and I ran faster than had ever run before. And also, I fell over and broke my toe, but I still carried on running. I didn't know I'd broken my toe at the time, but I just carried on running through the pain because I was in that environment of that forcing function of having to do it. In the UK, South Africa, Australia, America, there's something called Park Run, 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning. It's free, it's a charity, and they run 5 kilometers, and you can walk it if you like. But that environment of that race is going to help you to succeed. If you have to do a presentation or public speaking, you're going to prepare and prepare and prepare because you don't want to look like an idiot. You want to do well. And so that's a really good forcing function to bring out the best in you. Other things like retreats, where you go away and take yourself out completely into a different environment, or seminars or mastermind groups where other people are all focused on helping you solve your problems. That's amazing for creating big transformation in your life. So I'd encourage you to think about putting yourself in a retreat or a seminar or something where you're learning and an environment like a mastermind where you're able to focus on what needs to happen in your world to make those changes. If you want to learn a language, go to that country and put yourself in the city where you have to speak that language, and that's the quickest way you'll learn. Not by doing classes. It's good, but it's not as good as going to that country and living there. Boot camps, accelerated learning programs, intensives, those are great for learning things quickly. So what you want to remember is that you want to outsource your motivation to high pressure environments. Where you have to, you will. If you don't have to, you won't. And so high pressure environments are a transformational environment that's going to get you closer to where you want to go quicker. Remember that it's not just putting yourself in the right environment, it's also eliminating certain things. Like I mentioned with food, eliminating the bad food in your diary, in your home. But whether it's social media, toxic relationships, excessive junk food, those sorts of things. What distractions do you think you need to remove? Do you need to take off YouTube or Facebook or other social media platforms from your phone so that you're not watching them, you know, during times when you could be being more productive? Setting phone free times, like I mentioned, or putting it in a particular place, so not in the bedroom, for example. Website blockers or time limits on apps like social media apps. You can put it for half an hour a day rather than allowing yourself to, go into 1 or 2 hours a day. Having a cut-off time for your workday. A lot of people are really dedicated to their work, and it's applauded. But actually, you know what? The person who's able to put down work at 5, 6, 7 o'clock, whatever it might be, and stop and be really present for their family. That's amazing. I've already mentioned having healthy food in your home as well. Here's the path to transformational change or intentional change. High stake commitments as well. When it comes to something called like the 10x rule, or really scaling up your business, you want to put a high stake in there. You want to try and do something slowly and small, it often fails because it's not urgent enough. Creating urgency forces rapid change. And there's a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. And, when you have to, then you make it happen. When I got divorced and I left, I had to find somewhere to live. I found it was a caravan, and then it was a chalet, and then it was in with my parents' house, and eventually it was or will be a house of my own again. But I had to make that change, and it was abrupt. But you find a way. I've just given the example. But yeah, when you put your life savings into something or you commit to a new world, that those big decisions can be pretty impactful. When I left my employment and I went self-employed, that was a massive change, and I had to make it work because I wasn't going back to employment. I had to make that income. Lastly, or nearly lastly, I want to end on something. There's Joe Campbell created something known as the hero's journey. And there's an illustrator of it here. But we all pretty much go through the hero's journey. And here's the thing about heroes, that heroes are only heroes because there's an adversary. So the Avengers here, all of these characters, they're only amazing because there's a baddie. There's an adversity that they need to overcome. And so, in order for you to become brilliant, for you to become great, you have to put yourself in situations that demand the best of you. And if you don't do it deliberately, then it will happen to you naturally. It'll come as a shock. But I can guarantee it will happen. It's just the way the world works. In order for us to grow, which is a fundamental human need, if we're not deliberately creating uh, struggle, meaningful struggle, then it'll happen to you anyway, through unintended consequences of the economy, a relationship ending, death, marriages, births, all sorts of things that will happen that mean that you are challenged to grow. And the thing about the challenge is that you get this gift at the end. You get the learning that you needed to be able to return to effectively what is a new world for yourself. You thought it was this world, something happened, you get mentors and help along the way. Your old character effectively dies and you're reborn and you get a new way of dealing with the world, and that's the gift. So know that the best of you comes about as a result of difficulty. So let's leave it here. But there's a lovely quote by Will Durant. So you're either rising up or shrinking down from the demands of your situation. So let's be deliberate about rising up, knowing that your environment is actually trying to help you, or should be trying to help you, and you can craft it to help you. And if you want different results in your life, place yourself in an environment that forces that growth. I hope you had some really good takeaways. I'd love to know what your takeaways are from this. Please put them in the comments. Um, share this with other people. I'd really appreciate your support. And if you'd like to know more about how this can be delivered to you or your team, I'm very happy to have a conversation about it. So do reach out to me there. Okay, take care and have a lovely day.